Madden NFL is a gaming franchise that has spanned many decades and played by many generations of gamers from the 1980s until current day. Named after John Madden, a former National Football League coach and commentator, this game has continued to evolve year after year. Now, let's dive into the history of Madden. John Earl Madden was born in Austin, Minnesota on April 10th, 1936. Then a few years later, John's father would move their family to California, where John would attend high school and play football. In 1954, John went on to play one season at the College of San Mateo, before being offered a football scholarship to the University of Oregon. However, due to a knee injury, he underwent surgery, which pretty much ended his playing time at Oregon. In 1955, he returned to the College of San Mateo. Then, in 1957, he played at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, where he played on both offensive and defensive lines. In 1958, Madden was drafted by the NFL's Philadelphia Eagles in the 21st round, but suffered an injury to his other knee in his first training camp, which ended his playing career before he ever got an opportunity to play professionally. However, that wouldn't stop Madden from being involved with football. In 1964, he was a defensive coordinator and assistant coach at San Diego State University for a few years. During his time there, in 1966, the team went undefeated and went on to win a bowl game. Then in 1967, Madden was hired by Al Davis as the Oakland Raiders linebackers coach. In February of 1969, Madden was promoted to head coach. And in Madden's first season as head coach, the Raiders had an impressive record with 12 wins and 1 loss. However, they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in the American Football League championship game in 1970. However, the Raiders would continue to have impressive seasons. And in 1977, Madden would finally lead the Raiders to a Super Bowl victory by beating the Minnesota Vikings in Super Bowl XI. In 1979, Madden started his broadcasting career as a color commentator at CBS. He was paired with play-by-play announcer Pat Summerall. In 1982, Trip Hawkins, a former employee of Apple, started the video game company Electronic Arts, or known as EA. EA was one of the early computer gaming companies during this time. In 1984, Trip Hawkins approached Madden with the idea of a football game series. And after 4 years of development, in 1988, John Madden Football was released for Apple II. The game offered players a depth of strategy. It also allowed gamers to take control of their teams by making play calls and manage player stamina and injuries. The gameplay was pretty spot on with the strategy behind American football, giving players a sense of real-world coaching and game management. However, no actual NFL teams are playable because of the lack of the NFL licenses. And this would be the case for a few more of the game franchise's releases. At this point in the 80s, the popularity of gaming consoles was growing, especially with the releases of Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, in 1985, and Sega Genesis in 1989. Also, football games weren't that good at this point. There was John Elway's Quarterback, released in 1987 for Commodore 64, Apple II, and NES. And then there was NFL. And yes, that's the name of the game. It was called NFL, and it released in 1989 for the NES. The 1990s. The 1990s saw the next generation of console gaming, with the Sega Genesis being released in '89, Super Nintendo in '91, the first PlayStation in '95, and Nintendo 64 in 1996. In 1990, another John Madden Football was released on Sega Genesis. The player point of view was from above and behind the quarterback, which allowed for a better viewing experience when making plays. There were 16 teams available to play, but they weren't official NFL teams because of the lack of the NFL license. This game sold over 400,000 units, which outpaced the expectations. Also in 1990, during the NFC Championship game between the New York Giants and San Francisco 49ers, John Madden made a prediction that will come true regarding Bill Belichick.
Well, Bill Belichick is the defensive coordinator of the Giants, and watching you draw all the plays and the formations that they do. This guy is a very good coach, and they're talking about him as a possible head coach in the National Football League this year. He's only 38 years old.
In 1992, John Madden Football 93 was released on Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. It had updated graphics that made for a smoother playing experience. Also, the game sold over 1 million units, which shattered the expectations. In 1993, NFL Madden 94 was released for Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and this was the first game in the Madden series with an official National Football League team license, and the introduction of official NFL teams. It's also the first Madden game to use the EA Sports, it's in the game slogan.
EA Sports, it's in the game.
Which will become a mainstay throughout the franchise's history. During this time, another rival football game franchise emerged, and it was called NFL Gameday, and it was developed by Sony Interactive Studios. The first game to come out in December '95 for the PlayStation was titled NFL Gameday, with William Floyd as its cover athlete. By the end of 1996, it sold 1 million copies, which made it a competitor to the Madden franchise. In 1997, Madden 64 was released on Nintendo 64, becoming the first Madden game that was fully 3D. The graphics were even better than Madden 98, which was released on the Sony PlayStation. The game also included the voice commentary of John Madden and Pat Summerall. Also in '97, its competitor, Gameday 98, was released on PlayStation, with running back Jerome Bettis on a cover. It was the first football game to have the polygonal 3D graphics, and it sold over 1.4 million copies in the first year. In 1999, another Madden competitor appeared called NFL 2K, which was released for the Sega Dreamcast. It was also a fully 3D game developed by Visual Concepts, with Randy Moss of the Minnesota Vikings featured as the cover athlete. At the end of the year, it sold 1.1 million units, which shaved off sales from Madden 2000. The 2000s. In the 2000s, the console wars really began kicking off with the release of the PlayStation 2 in 2000 and the Xbox and GameCube in 2001, with all three consoles boasting better graphics than previous systems. Also in the 2000s, Madden NFL began having football players featured on the cover of the game, unlike in previous decades which had John Madden on the front. Starting in 2000 with Madden 2001's release, it was the first game where the cover didn't feature John Madden. Instead, it featured Tennessee Titans' Eddie George on the cover. It's also the first Madden game to be released on the PlayStation 2. Also, the game allowed for players to create their own plays and run their own franchise. And the graphics were smoother and more consistent than previous games. Now, let's talk about the Madden cover curse. When athletes began being featured on the cover of the game, oftentimes their careers suffered shortly after they appeared. In 2002, Madden 03 released with running back Marshall Faulk on the cover. The game had updated graphics, mini camp mode, and the introduction to EA Tracks, which is the feature where EA got the licensing agreement to play real songs in their games, which was an absolute game changer at the time. As for Marshall Faulk, before appearing on the cover, he had 5 straight seasons with over 1,000 yards under his belt, but during the 2002 season, he suffered an ankle injury and never got over 1,000 again. In August 2003, Madden 04 was released for PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. The cover of the game featured Michael Vick, the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, who was pretty much unstoppable in the game. His speed rating was 95, which was faster than most of the players, and I remember playing this game with friends at the time, and pretty much anyone who picked the Falcons used Michael Vick like he was the only player on the roster. He was the quarterback, running back, and kickoff return. He was Superman, literally Superman. However, after the game release, Michael Vick broke his leg during the 2003 season and was out for most of the season. In 2004, NFL Gameday 2005 was released for the PlayStation, and it was the last game in the NFL Gameday franchise. Also, ESPN 2K5 was released, and it was also the last game for the 2K franchise. Both competing franchises were most likely destroyed because of a deal that happened in December of 2004, where EA Sports signed an exclusive NFL license deal. This deal gave EA the exclusive rights to use the NFL teams, stadiums, and players in their video games, mostly for the Madden franchise. This deal is more than likely what decimated the competition, because now other gaming companies would have to use off-brand teams if they made an American football game. Madden NFL now had a monopoly on the football gaming market. In August 2005, Madden 2006 was released for the consoles at the time. The game cover featured Donovan McNabb, the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. The game introduced the quarterback vision, which was a spotlight the player could control to make accurate passes. Also, the truck stick was introduced, which, if used correctly, allowed offensive players to break tackles in the most disrespectful way possible. As for McNabb, after appearing on the cover, he missed several games due to an injury. Also, I remember playing this game with a high school friend just about every morning right before school started. I would drive to his house, we would play the game up until 5 minutes before the class started, rush to school, be late for class, and do it all over again the next day. This game was absolutely addicting to play. In August 2006, John Madden was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. After an excellent career as a head coach and sports broadcaster, he finally got the recognition he deserved. In August 2008, Madden 09 was released on most gaming platforms. The cover features Brett Favre, the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, who had actually retired from the team before the cover was released. He became the first non-active player on the cover of the Madden franchise. This game introduced backtrack and rewind, which allowed players to rewind plays to see where they need to make improvements. This was also the last game with John Madden's commentary, because in April 2009, 2 months after commentating on the Super Bowl, John Madden retired from broadcasting.
Either. I mean, I always believed that when you say you're going to retire, you've already retired. So when I did that Super Bowl, when we went in there, I didn't have any idea. I mean, I didn't know this is the last game I'm ever going to do in my life.
After 30 years of commentating, he retired to spend more time with family. Also in 2009, Madden NFL 10 was released, and John Madden and Al Michaels' commentary were replaced by Tom Hammond and Chris Collinsworth. The game featured Arizona Cardinals wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald and Pittsburgh Steelers safety Troy Polamalu on the cover of the game. This was the first time a Madden game featured two athletes from opposing teams on the cover. This game also introduced some new features, like Fight for the Fumble, where if two players are near a fumbled ball, they press a series of buttons to wrestle for the ball. Also, Pro-Tack, a new animation that allows up to non-players to be involved in tackles. Now, here are some players whose season went downhill right after appearing on the Madden cover. Madden 2002. In 2001, Dante Culpepper's season was cut short due to a knee injury. Madden 2005. Ray Lewis suffered a thigh injury during the 2005 season. Madden 2007. Sean Alexander fractured his foot and never ran the same after returning. The 2010s. In 2013, Madden 25 was released. Not to be confused with Madden 2025, this Madden 25 was really Madden 14, but it was to celebrate its 25th anniversary of the Madden NFL franchise. Hall of Famer Barry Sanders of the Detroit Lions was on the cover for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 versions, while Adrian Peterson appeared on the cover for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Some of the new features included updated graphics and a reactive environment. In August 2017, Madden 2018 was released, with New England quarterback Tom Brady on the cover. This was the first game in the series to introduce Long Shot, story mode where you follow a young kid in high school trying to make his way into the NFL. As for Tom Brady, after appearing on the cover, his season didn't suffer. In fact, the Patriots went all the way to the Super Bowl, however, they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. In August 2019, Madden 20 was released, with Patrick Mahomes, quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, on the cover of the game. He became the first player for the Chiefs to be on the cover of the game. Also, after appearing on the cover, he went on to win the Super Bowl during that season, the 2020s. Despite the pandemic kicking off in early 2020, the Madden franchise was still moving forward. In August of 2020, Madden NFL 21 was released, featuring Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens as the cover athlete. This game introduced the Yard Game mode, which allows players to play a backyard-style game. It's faster pace and allows for lateral passes to other players. In December of 2021, John Madden passed away at 85 years old. His legacy continues to live on through the Madden games and his impact on sports broadcasting. In 2022, Madden NFL 23 was released and John Madden was placed on the cover in honor of his life and death. The Madden series continues on, and as of making of this video, Madden 2025 is still the current game, with San Francisco's Christian McCaffrey as the cover athlete. The series is one of the longest running gaming series in the world, with 44 games since 1988, and still continuing to release more every year. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more content. This concludes another episode of The Voice of Rhino.